Calling from an 832 area code. Who's this?
I just became a member. This is Robert from the I-4 corridor.
Hello, Robert. What's on your mind?
So I just wanted to comment on the Steve Mims segment yesterday.
Okay.
So I worked in higher ed for about 15 years, and this Christensen's disruption theory was always used as sort of a cudgel to try to get them to lower costs. It doesn't really, I mean, as it's pure theory, it doesn't really work that well, but in higher ed. But higher ed doesn't really have a profit motive like business does. So business has an upward winds towards profit, downward winds towards cut costs. Those are its two main fundamental cultural drivers. But higher ed has completely different cultural drivers. In lieu of profit motive, they have reputation motive. So they're always striving for greater reputation because that attracts students, gives them prestige, et cetera, gets them grants, all kinds of stuff. And in place of a cost-cutting motive, they have a avoid controversy motive, right? Because controversy is damaging to reputation, which goes to explain why they're so bad at handling campus sexual assault, right?
Right.
Because any hint of controversy just is harmful to reputation, and reputation is the most important thing. So this harping on cutting costs doesn't fit within the cultural structure of higher ed, and so it never really works. Now, that doesn't mean to say they shouldn't try to control their costs, but I think a better solution is what you suggested, and that is that it just all be funded from taxpayers, just like K-12 is, and just make it K-16.
Absolutely. And I think, I think to a certain extent, what you also need to do is, because based upon that incentive structure, that gives colleges the incentive to build, like, we need to get the top of the line, athletic department building or something like that. And I think there's always a tendency, particularly as in the past 20, 25 years, to build more than is necessary in some respects. You know what I mean? Where the money is spent on the infrastructure. And I think there's got to be some type of way of capping that. And I think that's got to be pretty easy to develop, something like that. Yeah,
and I think what drives that is a particular problem to higher ed, absolutely. I think what drives that is higher ed is one of only one of two industries where the workers actually control the means of production, right? So faculty actually control higher ed. I mean, they're the only group that can give the quote unquote CEO a vote of no confidence, right? So they really control higher ed. Hence, administrators don't have much to do. And so what they do in lieu of that is they build lots of buildings themselves.
Right.
Faculty often aren't in favor of all these buildings. It's really an administrator-driven phenomenon. Anyway, the second point that I wanted to make is I heard what you said about voting for somebody you agree with 100%. And I really thought about that, and I decided you were absolutely right, and I had to vote for myself. But then I found I couldn't name a single international leader, so now I don't know who to vote for.
Well, apparently that's not disqualifying. I'm not convinced that we couldn't get that at least. I mean, I'm quite convinced you could ask that same question to Donald Trump, and he'd just be like, "Well, there's the guy I saw in Mexico, and that's about it." But I appreciate the phone call.
I hear people are doing things.
All right, thanks.
Hey folks, Sam Seder here. I just got back from a company-wide meeting. Accounting is really coming down on me hard. We need to get to 100,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So please enjoy this channel. Subscribe right down there.